Hello and welcome to Bookish and Beverages. I'm Melissa and I pair a delicious beverage with summary recaps on a fantasy book series so you can remember what happened without having to reread it. And today we'll be diving into Apprentice to the Villain by Hannah Nicole Maehrer. This is book number 2 in the Assistant to the Villain series. And content warning, there are full spoilers ahead. So if you haven't read this book, you can pause, save, and come back later. So for now, let's go grab our drink. For our beverage today, we'll be making Lyssa's Earl Grey tea. Here's what you'll need. In a tea strainer for loose leaf teas, add 1 teaspoon of Earl Grey tea blend or 1 tea bag. Add 1 cup of boiling water, cover, and let it steep for 3 to 5 minutes. Once it's done steeping, strain the tea, add honey or sweetener to your taste, stir, and enjoy. Drinks in hand, let's dive into our book. The unnamed knight with green eyes who killed the other guard and let Evie go at the end of book 1 reports to King Benedict that Evie has indeed kicked the bucket. If you need a summary recap on book 1, I'll link to my video in the description below. Magically bound and in dark dungeons for 7 days, the villain, aka Tristan, is holding out on his last thread of hope after the king told him Evie is dead. With the king's party to unmask the villain, Tristan tries to escape one last time, but instead walks into a room with Evie's dead body on full display. And now he is resigned to his fate with the proof of her death. Tristan and his dad, Arthur the court healer, are brought out onto the dais in front of all the gathered courtiers. Evie's body is displayed in a glass coffin while the king gives his "I'm the hero" speech and paints Evie as the villain's last victim. Just before the king unmasks the villain, the guests notice Evie's body is missing. "I'm sorry, the old Evie can't come to the phone right now." "Why?" "Oh, 'cause she's dead." But wait, she's alive and standing at the top of the staircase and on that vigilante shit again. Yes. Stalling the king, she reveals all the backup she brought with her to rescue the villain, the women of the villain's malevolent guard. Attack! The ballroom erupts into chaos as the malevolent guards kill the king's guards. Claire frees her dad and Tristan, and Evie shatters the crystal chandelier, engulfing the room in flames. Evie unmasks the villain upon his orders to do so. Now that everyone knows Evie's face, he's not going to hide either. Hello, evil overlord. Hello, little tornado. The way I squealed at that part. Becky from HR and Blade the Dragon Trainer show up for the next step in the escape plan. But aren't you forgetting something? The king stops Evie and Tristan in their tracks when he reveals that he has Kingsley, the crown-wearing frog. The villain unleashes his dark shadow daddy, deadly, misty powers to strike the king when suddenly Evie asks, what's that? Say what? She can see his magic, but no one else has ever been able to. Kingsley bites the king to set himself free, and they take off running for their lives. Into the hickory forest they go, grabbing hands in a Jack and Rose Titanic moment. You jump, I jump. The villain and Evie jump off the cliff and land on Fluffy the dragon's back. Safe at last, the villain, Evie, Blade, Becky from HR, Tatiana the healer, Claire, and Arthur fly their way back to the office at Massacre Manor. Back to business at the office, Evie has a one-to-one meeting with the boss about her mother's letters and a page from Renadon's story that Evie got from her valiant guard informant. The story tells the tale of a prophecy to save the kingdom and its magic. The person who saves the magical lands will take fate's youngling well in hand. When fate and starlight magic fall together, the land will belong to you forever. But beware the unmasked villain and their malevolent dark, for nothing is more dangerous than a blackened good heart. Evie proposes that the villain enact the prophecy himself because wouldn't that be the biggest FU to his sworn enemy, King Benedict? With the female Gouvray pregnant and in their possession, from here on out, I am calling it the serpent thing because I have a hard time pronouncing Gouvray. Couldn't pronounce it in the last one, can't pronounce it here. So moving on. They are on an unknown countdown since the baby serpent thing is one part of the prophecy. The villain himself is another part. So all that's left is Evie's missing mother and her powerful starlight magic. The search begins, and the first site visit is to the Kissing Tree Caves. Right before they head out, Evie realizes her journal is missing and begs Becky from HR to be on the lookout for it because it has a sketch of Evie and the bossy Kissing. All aboard Fluffy the Dragon Express, the crew, Tristan, Evie, Claire, Tatiana, and Blade land near their destination. On brand for being curious and chaotic, Evie wanders off while Tristan takes off after her like an overprotective mother hen he's becoming, at least when it comes to Evie. And rightfully so, because she's standing in front of one of the most dangerous beings, a sentry, a human-looking immortal stoic guard that would give the British foot guards a run for their money. Politely asking, "Please?" The sentry allows Evie to enter. A dumbfounded villain watches her walk toward the cave until she falls down a trap, and he goes in after her. Landing on a cloud, they jump into a hidden oasis below and begin arguing over Evie's lack of self-preservation until they are inches apart and almost about to kiss, when suddenly the sky barrier begins to shake. That is one way to kill the vibe, and it's been so close. The monster, the guardian of the cave, the inventor of trees, turns out to be a delightful creature who, of course, Evie befriends, and it gives her stardust to help guide her way to what she seeks. Thrown back into the surface like Aladdin from the collapsing Cave of Wonders, Evie hears Blade yell. The valiant guard has found him, and they know they have stardust. In a montage of freeing themselves from capture, Evie's dagger wields her into a trained assassin. Claire tosses magical acidic orange ink on a few guards, and Kingsley surprises everyone by jumping on a knight's face. And one of the last two remaining knights turns to the other and reveals himself as Evie's informant. The villain recognizes the knight and is clearly jealous and angry as Evie throws herself onto the knight and fusses over him. "Sir, meet my brother Gideon Sage." Her brother lives, and boy does the villain feel like a nincompoop. Story time. Gideon's magic awakened when they were kids, and his ability is to suppress other people's magic, just like he did with the villain. When they went out to the dandelion fields on that fateful day, he didn't die. He just got kicked into another dimension, and similar to Goldie Hawn from Overboard, he woke up with his memories wiped nearby the Gleaming Palace. He became a valiant guard, and slowly his memories started coming back to him after 5 years. Meanwhile, at the office, Becky from HR is doing her duties with Lyssa, Evie's younger sister, when Marvin the front guard comes with bad news. The magical invisibility ward is broken, and the manor is visible. Once everyone comes back from their site visit, only a single door is visible. Phew, that's a bit better at least. Remember that missing journal with the kissing doodle? Well, it's been found by the villain himself, and he sees the doodle. Awkward. Waking up from an unintended nap, Evie realizes that the vial of stardust is missing. Going into the hall to look for it and get a snack, the stardust vial rolls right up to her, and so does a different sort of snack, the villain himself, chasing the vial. Since the stardust has a mind of its own, they decide to use it on her mom's ladders right away, but they're in the villain's bedroom. Oh, hey now. Trying to resist Evie and think evil and deadly thoughts, Tristan sprinkles some stardust on the letters and boom! The letters transform into a glass map. Their next site visit destination? The Heart Village. Evie, the villain, Tatiana, and Claire set out, and just when they get to the bridge leading into the village, they realize Evie is drunk from smelling a peony flower. It's spelt different spelt with an I instead of an E. So We're going to go with Peony. In order to cross the bridge, a family of creatures tasks drunk Evie with solving a riddle. And damn straight she solves it, and they're free to pass. Except for the villain. Because of his history of previously destroying a bridge, he must forfeit his magic while in the village. They split up. Claire and Tatiana are tasked with finding an enchantress to help with the manor's faulty magical barrier, while Evie and the villain find out about Evie's mother, Nura Sage. Arguing in an alleyway over the ramifications of Evie eating the sleeping death fruit to fake her death, a group of men in costumes, not tights, capture Evie and the villain. On wanted flyers are both true renderings and full names for the villain and Evie. And Evie, being Evie, is super stoked about having a wanted flyer. I mean, that's pretty cool. Tied up and locked away in a water cellar, Evie asks the villain to feel up her skirts to get her dagger, of course. Cutting the ropes free, they try to figure out a way to get free when the cellar door opens and in walks the boss of the theater performers, Helena, Evie's cousin. Yes, Helena did see her mom in the village about 2 to 3 years ago, and no, she won't let Evie and the villain go. She's family. How could she do this? And how could she sell them out to the king? Evie asks the villain to take off his shirt to obviously make a rope and get the keys to their freedom from the table. Duh. Of course, she's not ogling her boss, but how can she resist? She does notice a golden circle on his arm that matches the employment ring on her pinky finger. While he says it's a coinkydink, she reveals she knows what it truly is, a magical bargain to know when she's in danger. Welp, his shirt isn't long enough, so Evie strips off her dress, stunning the villain. Shoe tied on the end, and they both miss the keys, but the villain hits the window, starting a crack with water leaking in. The water rising more and more. Faced with the possibility of death, Evie pleads, "Please, kiss me." And the villain responds with, "I can't do that." Bro, seriously. My heart, poor Evie, the rejection. And I can't take this slow burn anymore. It's a bird. It's a plane. No, it's Kingsley to the rescue, crashing through a window. Claire and Tatiana pull Evie up and out of the window. But where did the villain go? Evie's dagger to his throat. Helena has the villain captured. How dare her cousin take what's hers? Her shoulder glows brightly and her dagger comes flying back into her hand. Evie demands to leave and Helena is like, "Okie dokie, cousin." Say what? That easy? Then Helena is like, "Yup, and by the way, here's something your mom left you. We absolutely hate the king. The magic is fading, and bye, Felicia." Back at the office, the something Nura Sage left Evie is a broken off corner of a picture frame with a note saying she'll be with her friend. What the fuck? Time to start back at the beginning with Evie's village. The villain tells Evie, "No, as your boss, you will not go with me, all for the sake of protecting her." Remember, she's got wanted posters of her too, and she knows a lot of the people in the village, so, but to play this game, the villain arrives at the village festival with his hood up, terrorizes Rick, Evie's douche of an ex-hookup, gets his face painted, cause, and finds Evie in disguise already talking to the picture frame vendor. With the frame vendor being a dead end to finding her mom, they head to Evie's old home and end up in her bedroom. The topic of conversation goes from lighthearted to serious and heated as Evie continues to question the villain about his Katy Perry-inspired hot and cold behavior towards her. His control finally snaps and he kisses Evie. Frickin' finally. But with their luck, they get rudely interrupted again by none other than Malcolm, the villain's brother, who has been squatting in the house. Malcolm's tavern was burnt down by angry retired Valiant guards once they found out he was the villain's brother. They find a portrait of 2 girls with the missing corner. Evie's mom is one of the girls, but who's the other girl? There's only one person that can answer that, and it's finally time for Evie to pay a visit to her deadbeat douche canoe dad in the dungeons. Her dad is still an asshat trying to get under her skin, so she stabs him in the thigh with her dagger. He finally answers her questions. The other girl is her mom's childhood bestie, Rena Fortis. Rena. I'm going with Rena. Rena Fortis. And if she wants to find out what he and the king did to her mom's magic, she'll need to ask her brother. Bloodied and on a mission, Evie chases after Gideon to get some answers. More story time for Gideon. After he got his magic, their dad had him training in secret. He met the king and they asked him to use his magic to suppress their mom's growing and powerful starlight magic as his duty to the kingdom. The night before the fateful morning where all their lives were forever changed, he fell asleep early and her magic came out in full force. Evie finds the villain in his bedchamber to 1. Share what she's learned from Gideon, 2. That Lyssa is missing, and 3. To talk about their kiss. He says it was an accident, but she's not buying his excuse, so they'll table this conversation for another day after her mother is found. Marv, the front guard, bursts into the room. Fire in the courtyard. With the fire put out and the villain itching to kill whoever started it, Evie steps in, calling out Lyssa. She got Fluffy the dragon to finally breathe fire. Oh, and she also locked Claire and Tatiana in a cupboard trying to play matchmaker. Moving on, and with everyone gathered in the courtyard, the topic of Rena Fortis comes up, and Becky from HR says she can get them into the most inaccessible fortress because Rena Fortis is her mother. Taking Fluffy the Dragon Express again, the villain, Evie, Claire, Tatiana, Becky from HR, and Blade arrive at the magical Fortis family fortress. When meeting 2 of Becky's 4 brothers, the villain gets kidnapped by the magical vines and taken to the Trench of Anguish. Becky's 2 other brothers stand watch over the trench, where Tristan must pass a test of judgment by the hands of destiny, or die. Still in the manor, Becky's parents show up, Rena and Julius, and bring news of Evie's mother. They sent her away to their second home since she wasn't doing too hot when she showed up at their doorstep. It'll take about T-minus 2 days for her to journey back. Back in the trench, Tristan is reliving memories until the last one changes into something new, and King Benedict has a knife held up to Evie's throat. Everyone arrives at the trench to a screaming villain being tortured by the Destiny creature. Evie offers up her soul for the villains. In Tristan's nightmare dream world, he senses something very wrong about this seductress, fake Evie. Just when he denies her, the real Evie shows up and the imposter turns back into the hands of Destiny creature. Evie and Tristan bicker back and forth with each other to convince the creature that they should be the one for it to take. Lucky for them, it says the villain has passed. But they don't start celebrating yet. The creature whispers one more message only the villain can hear as they both get thrown back into the real world. Tristan passes out, muttering to Evie as they take him to the infirmary. Staying by the villain's side, Evie and Becky from HR have a heart-to-heart after Becky's own mom tries to talk shit about her to Evie. These boss babes gotta stick together. Going outside for a breather, Evie ends up joining the Fortis brothers for some warrior fighting lessons, which aren't going too well for Evie, I might add. A jealous, overprotective, and alive Tristan shows up right when Evie is in a precarious position. Everyone else gets dismissed after Evie whispers her unrequited feelings for the villain in front of everyone. Evie asks for fight lessons from the villain himself, and they go toe-to-toe, verbal sparring included. Trapped in his hold, trying to break free using her instincts, Evie kisses the villain. Just when he's about to show her some other useful maneuvers, valiant guards show up. They have been betrayed. The villain's magic goes a little wonky, and Evie jumps in front of the villain when an arrow flies straight at him. But did she die? Nope, because somehow she pulled a nice little trick with her magical dagger and linked Scar. Unaliving the fleeing valiant guards, the villain weakens after using his magic. Ever since his magic revealed itself to Evie, it just hasn't been the same. His solution? Keep distance between them. On their way back to the Fortis fortress to warn everyone, they hear screaming. Evie's mother screams, to be exact, coming from an extremely rare memory flower. Cat's out of the bag. Rena has been aiding King Benedict with fulfilling the prophecy in hopes of finding a cure for her mother with a mystic illness by creating a hybrid memory magic siphoning plant. She used the plant on Nura's sage, screaming until her starlight enveloped her, and all that was left was stardust. Rena gives Evie the vial of her mom's stardust and a strange dark crystal slab her mom wanted her to have. One more strike against Becky from HR's mom. She was the one that sent for the valiant guards, and more are on their way. Done with her mother's BS excuses, Becky from HR rounds up the office crew, her found family, and dips out. Meanwhile, at the manor, the barrier had gone completely offline. You didn't say the magic word. The malevolent guards and Gideon fight, but they are grossly outnumbered by valiant guards. The villain joins the chaos right when he arrives at the manor, heading straight for the Serpent Thing's enclosure. Just a little too late and too many obstacles, the valiant guard cart off the drugged female serpent thing. Trying to save the male serpent thing as it goes after its mate, Gideon is about to be stabbed by a knight when suddenly the knight drops dead instead. Evie shows up with her handy-dandy dagger and releases a can of whoop-ass. Between the villain's Shadow Daddy death magic and Fluffy's fire, victory is theirs. No time to celebrate as Edwin, the ogre chef, bears bad news. Evie's father has escaped. Sneaky Lyssa had been secretly visiting her dad in the dungeons after receiving a note from him. And because he's a douchebag dag, he manipulated her. I mean, she's only 10. After telling her siblings the news of their mother, Evie goes to interrupt the villain's torture sesh on a prisoner to tell him about the note, meaning there's still another office mole on the loose. And we finally get confirmation of Kingsley the Frog's true identity. He is Alexander Kingsley, the not-so-dead prince of the Southern Kingdom who was accidentally turned into a frog by an enchantress who was ordered to kill Tristan, by his own mother, I might add. After he was trying to seek sanctuary when he became the villain 10 years ago. Talk about the wrong place at the wrong time for poor Kingsley. We also find out some more juicy insider information, what the Hands of Destiny creature whispered to Tristan. You were always supposed to meet Evie Sage, Tristan Maehrer, just as Evie Sage is meant to be your downfall, and you her undoing. That sounds ominous, but the villain sets off to a tea party with Lyssa. Instead of spilling juicy gossip at tea time, Lyssa spills their mother's stardust onto the crystal slab she was using as a plate. The crystal slab glows brightly, so why not add the rest of the stardust they got from the caves and see what else happens? And huzzah, a piece of the night sky with one bright star in the center, promising Lyssa a weekly tea party with Lord Tristan. They end their current party early because Evie has figured out where their mother is. Evie, Tristan, and Blade head out on Fluffy the Dragon Express to the creature in the cave. Evie gives the crystal slab of sky back to the creature, putting it back into the night sky. Like a genie, the creature grants her a wish to free her mom from being a wishing star. Poof! Her mom is human again, and their reunion is cut short as the cave begins to crumble. The magic is fading. Evie pleads with the creature to escape with them, but he is steadfast in staying and protecting its land. Think of me when you're with the trees. R.I.P. to the vicious monster, the sweet, kind creature, the guardian of the cave, and the inventor of trees. His loss was so much sadder than I expected it to be. Now, this time, they really make like Aladdin by riding a cloud out of the collapsing Cave of Wonders. Back at Massacre Manor, Nur reveals that there are actually 4 objects, not 3, to fulfill the prophecy story, but she can't remember what the 4th is. While Tatiana works her healing magic on Nura, Gideon pulls Evie aside to give her the antidote he was supposed to give her to wake her up from the sleeping death fruit. But wait, how did she wake up if she never got the antidote? What do you think the second magical and mythical cure is? Let me know in the comment below, and I'll also drop my theory in there. Rather than making a wish, Evie makes a vow, a declaration to the world. Beware the wrath of a kind heart. 1 week later, and it's back to the usual chaos at the office. Evie and the villain are avoiding each other. Lyssa isn't quite comfortable with her mom yet, and Gideon is trying his hardest to figure out the 4th object. Rereading the prophecy again and again, a light bulb finally turns on in his head. The villain wasn't the only one revealed at the king's event. Evie was unmasked as well. Dun, dun, dun. That concludes the summary for The Apprentice to the Villain, and thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned for more summary recaps on your favorite fantasy series. If you enjoyed this one, please be sure to like, subscribe, and share with your fellow book lovers. And if there are any series you want summary recaps on, just drop it into the comments below, and thank you, thank you, thank you.